Welcome back to another episode of our Trinity videos. Special shout out for this episode goes to my daughter for the wonderful mask that she made for me. We're going to be talking about the energy of adventure today. Adventure is a wonderful, wonderful energy to have in your repertoire because it's the one and only time you can take mistakes and make them good things. If you make a mistake normally, it's a screw up, it's a failure. But if you take a wrong turn when you're on an adventure, it's just more adventure. It's a really cool thing. We're going to look at how you can build the feeling of adventure in your body with a simple exercise, and it involves a ball. This is a playground ball that I picked up a couple of months ago. It does this wonderful thing where it brings back all of your 6th grade dodgeball memories. Hear that sound? Awesome. I'm going to get my training partner out here and we're going to show you this little game that you can play with the ball. I learned this in Kung Fu training because a big thing in internal Chinese martial arts is the stick and follow principle. You have to be able to adhere to the person and stick. One of the things that teaches you this sensitivity is they give you a ball and they let you hold it between your forearms. And you can play this little game where you move around and you can keep the ball between you through this pressure. If you drop the ball, of course, the game has to restart. But you can switch arms if you like. You can switch directions. All you have to do is keep the ball up, and in the meantime, you can score points by touching the person on the shoulder or the head. Arms don't count, of course, because their arms right there. That's super easy. So somewhere on the torso or the head, and you play this little game where you try and touch them and keep them from touching you. And like I said, you can switch if you need to. Now, how does this in any way have to do with adventure? Thank you, Bob. Let me talk about it for a minute. Adventure requires 2 things. Number 1, you have to have connection. You have to stay attached to a purpose, some sort of energetic purpose. The ball represents that. You have to keep your connection to that energy at all times, or you're not on an adventure. Number 2, you have to have an objective, like trying to touch the other person. If you don't have an objective, you're not on an adventure. For instance, let's say that you want to go for a hike on your favorite trail out in the great outdoors. Your purpose, your energetic purpose, might be connection to nature. Your objective is to complete the hike. Now, a lot of things can go wrong with your objective. Maybe it starts to rain, you don't get there. Maybe you get distracted and you take another trail. Maybe you stop and you watch the birds and you run out of time and you have to come home. Your objective doesn't have to be satisfied, but you have to have one. If you go out and say, well, I'm just going to connect to nature, and you just stand there, then maybe you're connecting to nature, but you're not having an adventure. The adventure requires the objective. If you just have the purpose, no adventure. If you just have the objective with no energetic purpose, then you also don't have adventure. You're just doing work. You're completing tasks. You're getting stuff done. You were checking off the boxes of your life. Did this, did this, did this. No adventure. Adventure requires those 2 things. That you have an energetic purpose, which you stay in contact with at all times, and you have some sort of objective, which maybe you don't even get to complete. It's not whether the objective is done perfectly, because every time something changes to your objective, every time you have to make an adjustment because you take a wrong turn or you discover something new or some birds show up that you want to stop and watch, it increases the adventure. So the objective is not important in that you do it, it's important that you have it. If you don't have it, you don't have an adventure. If you're driving around and you say, oh, I've got an extra hour before my meeting, I'd love to find out where that road goes. Now you have an objective. You have to have a purpose though. I'm going to discover something I've never discovered. If you just say, I'm going to drive down the road, no adventure. If you just say, I'm going to discover something, but I'm not going to try and go anywhere, then you probably also do not have an adventure. You have to have the purpose and the objective. Now, the objective is not all that important. You drive down that road and maybe you find out, oh, they're doing road construction. The bridge is out. I can only go a half mile down this road. Oh well, you still had an adventure. You need to have the objective, but you don't have to have it come true perfectly. You do, however, have to stay in constant contact with your energetic purpose. If you don't have a partner around, you can use a ball like this, and you can play shadow boxing on the wall with yourself. There's your shadow. Touch, move, move around, touch, touch. It works pretty well if you don't have access to a person. If you don't have access to this sort of ball, don't worry. You can use a tennis ball, you can use a grapefruit, you can use a beach ball, you can use a balloon that you inflate enough to make it sort of circular. That's all you need. Why would you want to do this? Because it builds that sense of adventure, and adventure is very important. The more you learn to pair your energetic purpose with an objective, but not be attached to the objective, the more everything that happens increases your appreciation of that energetic purpose. That's what adventure does. It increases your appreciation of an energetic purpose by having an objective which may or may not come true. If you think this stuff is interesting, stay tuned for more Trinity.